Hi, my name is Breanna Pekula. I'm 19 years old. I am in the Evershining 4-H Club in Marshall County, and this is my 11th year in 4-H. And today my presentation is on how to start a conversation with someone new. The first thing that you want to do is make sure you are able to observe the person you're physically going to talk to or start a conversation with them. It's important to indicate different physical characteristics about them so that way you can start that conversation and maybe have a memory of their face. Observe is a verb. To notice or perceive something and register it as being significant. And that is a great definition for observing and how to start a conversation with someone new, because we are significant, we are people, and we really want to seem important to the other party that we're talking to. So it's important to make the other person you're starting that conversation with feel significant and important. So you want to really, these are three types of different people that you might see. All are different, all have different physical differences, and they're all unique in their own way. So you really want to know how to put a name to a face. And how you do that is, hello, my name is. You want to say, hello, my name is, and you state your name, and then they will state their name after. That's usually how the conversation works. So they might say, hello, my name is Anthony, and you could say your name back to them. And some observations that you might be taking mentally, of course, you wouldn't say them aloud, just that Anthony has freckles, you could see by the picture. He has light brown hair, and he is wearing a red shirt around his collar. So those are just some mental notes that you might be taking while you are in that conversation with Anthony. Next, we have this blonde-headed girl. Again, say, hello, my name is, and they will say, hello, my name is, and her name is Sam. Some physical characteristics you might notice is that she has blonde curly hair. She has dimples. You can see her one dimple. And moving on, we also have this girl, and her name is Amanda. Some observations that you might take from her: she has black hair. She is wearing pink bows in her hair. So it doesn't have to be something maybe physical, just physical. It could be something that they are wearing. Obviously, maybe she won't be wearing the pink bows in her hair all the time, but when you first met, you could say, wow, she had the black hair, but she also had the pink bows in her hair as well. The next step is the repetition of one's name. I like to use the example of if you would walk into a math class and the teacher fills out this board of this whole math problem, and it kind of looks scary, and she practices the problem one time with her students and then gives a final or an exam on that problem. The students are probably not going to be that successful with that test because they haven't practiced that. So that's something you want to do. Also, I have the picture of the weightlifter, because when you want to do reps or repetition, you really want to, a weightlifter wouldn't just put all those weights on and do one bench press or one hang clean. They would do multiple. And the more you practice, practice makes perfect. Get your reps in. Repeating their name, that'll also make it healthier and more personal, because if you're taking that time to recognize their name into the conversation, they will feel more important saying like, wow, she really does know my name, or he really knows my name. Next up is small talk. Small talk is a polite conversation about unimportant or uncontroversial matters, especially to engage in a social occasion. Some examples are, hello, how are you today? Or what's the weather like? And this is just to develop a deeper conversation. These are the things that really get that conversation started. And it's great to work and put those in conversations in a professional workplace, because you want to form a personal relationship with your employers and your employees. Examples of small talk, I mentioned some before, but some other ones are, How is the weather outside? Did you watch the game? How are you? What are the plans? What are your plans for this weekend? Or where are you from? Anything to get that conversation started, so that way you can start off with a subject and really continue that into a deeper conversation. And you also might want to include their names in the conversation as well. So instead of just saying, how is the weather outside, so we can get our reps in, you might want to say, how is the weather outside, Anthony? Or, how are you, Amanda? Something like that. Just anything you can do to put the name in the conversation. The more times the better, without being too invasive. Miscommunications. Some miscommunications happen, but some tips and tricks of how to avoid those. First off, let me start by saying it's a verb. It says to fail to communicate clearly, fully, or inaccurately. So some examples of failure to communicate in general: poor listening skills, poor speaking skills, misleading lingo, unknown vocabulary. So maybe if you're talking to a younger person, you might not want to try to use big words, because they're just going to sit there and they're not going to be able to communicate well with you because they don't understand. Language barriers also. So it's okay to say, what was that? Or can you repeat that? And just be okay with repeating yourself, because you might have a couple of hiccups in the conversation. Not every conversation is going to be perfect, but if you practice those skills, they will get better. It's also very important to know your audience. You might want to know their age, their location, where they're from, their interests, because it's really important to really try to, especially since you're just learning someone's name, you're just meeting them, you really want to start off on the right foot and make it interesting and fun for the conversation, not just sit there and have something boring. So really try to get to know their interests, maybe their family or their status, their attention span. So like I said, if you're talking to someone maybe younger, they're not going to have as much of attention span as an adult. So you might want to be able to adjust your conversation skills with that. Next is healthy communications. You want to be genuine in the conversation. That's very important. Pay attention to their responses. Don't ask a question you don't want to know the answer to. I find myself even doing this sometimes, even though I don't try to, is you get the usual person that says, oh yeah. So they're not really intrigued with the conversation. They're just kind of not really listening. They're selective. They're using their selective hearing skill, which you really want to try to listen to their answers, so that way you can continue the conversation and make it healthier and more interesting for both parties. Conversation, things that impact the conversation. So the first picture up there is the lines, the point A to point B. As you can see, it's kind of a straight line. Some conversations, you don't want it to be that straight line, but you want to get to the point. You kind of want to have some maybe inside jokes, or just have a good time with it. But say in case of an emergency, or someone needs help and you're like, where are they at? You need to know and tell the proper authorities where they are. So that needs to be a straight conversation to the point. As well as the balancing the conversation. This is something that I found really interesting when I was doing my research about this project, is a short story equals a short response, and a long story equals a long response. And that's really important. That's something that I didn't know, because if they're going to tell you a long story about maybe their great-grandmother's cookies, and you're just like, oh, that's not really balanced. That might not make them feel as important, or that their opinion or their story really mattered. So you kind of want to try to fill that space. Same thing with if they say, I give you a compliment like, your hair looks really nice today. You might not want to go into all the details of where you got it cut, how your stylist styles it. You just kind of want to even out that conversation. The biggest mistake that we can make when starting a conversation with someone new is being afraid to do something wrong. So I'm giving you these tips and tricks, but you don't want, you want to include them in maybe you're practicing your conversation skills, but if you miss a step, that's okay. Just remain calm, and not every conversation is going to be 100% exactly the same, but just try to throw in those tips and tricks. it's impossible to truly be good at something without making some mistakes along the way. Just like I said with the other quote, it might not be 100% perfect, but hey, we're all human. Everything's not going to be perfect, and the person that you're talking to probably will understand that. So just when you're starting a conversation with someone new, remain calm, be yourself, and maybe you'll get a new friend out of that. Thank you. That has been my presentation. Again, my name is Breanna Pekula. This is my 11th year in 4-H. I'm from the Evershining 4-H Club in Marshall County. Thank you.